Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is December 24th, so this means that this card today is my final Christmas card for 2020. And for today's card I'm making a slimline one in some sort of a love themed style, because this card is for my fiancé. And it was a pain because I had another idea in mind, but therefore I didn't have all the supplies, and because this card is kinda last minute, the store couldn't get a hold of it anymore in time. So I am making a slimline card using a small idea from my original card that I wanted to make to create this card. So first of all, I have die cut the large slimline with sliders panel from the Transotype perfect coloring paper. I am running out of Neenah. I have ordered a new pack, so it's coming. But still, I'm trying to sort of change a bit the papers that I'm using for my backgrounds to limit using my leftover Neenah. So for this background, I am blending different distress inks. My boyfriend loves greens, so I decided to use forest moss, pale paint, crushed olive. And then I decided to go to squeezed lemonade to get a transition with abandoned coral. So yeah, I kept the ink blending at the top of my card, and then I went quite softly towards the bottom, but then I decided that I needed a bit more green, so I just shifted everything a bit lower. And now I'm going to add the abandoned coral. And even though I'm not using orange, while I am creating a transition between squeezed lemonade and abandoned coral, I will get that orangey glow that I really like as well. So that's what I'm doing today. Actually wanted to really let the background shine, a few images, and then a gorgeous sentiment. So I'm now just going back and forth between my squeezed lemonade and abandoned coral, and you can already see that wonderful glow. I am removing my purple tape, and this way you can see that gorgeous white border that you can get if you just mask off the stitch details on the side. I'm peeling it off really slowly. I don't want to rip my paper on the edges or wherever the purple tape is added. And then this background is ready. So for the sentiment, I decided that I was going to create my own. It's not really unique because you all know the song, but for my sentiment I used the Cuteaway alphas. I die cut everything, and then I used my grid mat to line everything up. Then I took a bit of purple tape and I just made sure that everything stayed in place as I wanted it to. So I just did that off camera just to save some time, because lining everything up, my head would be in the way, it would take ages. So I did that, and now I am taking a larger piece of purple tape and I'm adding it on the bottom of all the sentiment parts, and then I can line that up as well with the grid on my mat. As you can see here on the top and the bottom, I have adhered my panel to my mat just temporarily to make sure that it wouldn't shift while I am adhering everything. Then I'm trying to sort of place the sentiment all the way in the middle, but that's really hard sometimes. So just to cover up spaces where I place it more towards the left or towards the right, I am going to add stars around the sentiment, and this way it will some sort of distract from placing things a bit sideways, and it will also just balance the whole card out. So this sentiment is saying all I want for Christmas, and then I will heat emboss Is You onto a red piece of cardstock, and that will be my sentiment, like the song is saying. And each time I hear that song I think about my fiancé, so I thought that it couldn't match better for this year. Also with the whole corona stuff, As long as I have him, then I think I will be fine. I cannot imagine going through this strange period that keeps on going without him, so I'm really thankful and grateful for that. Also, it's the 24th, as I said. Today we actually celebrate Christmas. It has always been like this when I was a child as well. Christmas Eve is so special, and also the fact you're together with everyone you love, the warmth, but also when it's dark outside, then it's always more cozy on the inside. So actually Christmas Day itself we don't really celebrate. So that's also why I wanted to share with you my final card today. And I kept it till today because I didn't want my boyfriend to know what he was getting. So when you are seeing this video, it will probably be half an hour before I will give it to him, and then he will not have any time to watch social media or YouTube or whatever he sees all the cards on. So that's why I'm sharing it today. I hope next year maybe that I will be a bit earlier with all my cards ready. And then maybe his card will be in between all the rest and he will not know because there are so many cards. But that we will see next year. Also, I made this card so last minute, and I already thought that I was starting early this year. I made a lot of cards, barely got around with all of them. So I think next year you can expect Christmas during the completed year. Like, I mean, why not even a few in January? I don't know about that, but it might be the case because I don't want to be rushing at the end and being stuck with a specific idea. So as you can see here, I have the Dance Sweet Den Little Bears, and I am just in love with these bears by Fawn. I made only one card with them yet, but I will try to fix and make some birthday cards with them as well, because these bears are adorable. And the bears were actually the part that I really wanted to add in my original idea in my head. So I'm glad that I'm adding these to the card as well. I don't know why, but each time that I make a card for my boyfriend, I think it's a bit understated. But he knows me and I love the glitters. I'm also in love with this gorgeous glitter paper, but that I already said in some previous videos. But the fact that I'm using a few images, it's still like the usual me card. So these bears, the one that is sleeping, in my opinion, that's the boyfriend, and then the other one is me. So I just wanted to have a precious scene with two little bears that represent us, and then for the rest, the sentiment and the backgrounds are saying enough, I think. So here I have scattered around all these stars. As I showed you, these are from the Say What gift tags by Fawn, and I'm just going to add them already so that I can move around with this panel without messing up my placement. And then I can figure out how the rest of this card will look. The question has popped already a few times, and I mentioned it already a few times, but when I start on a card, I have like a really basic idea in my head, or just pieces or parts that I want to add. Like I knew that I wanted to have green on this card. I knew that I wanted to have the bears, but then I didn't know anything else. The sentiments, well, actually I was in blending, and then all of a sudden this song was playing on the radio and I was like, okay. Okay. So I just took that sentiment and tried it out, and it fitted perfectly on the Slimline. So that's fine. Then for the bears, I am using the Crunchy Leaf ink by Fawn. It's perfect for Copic coloring, so that's really handy. This way you can have a no-line coloring effect if you use darker colors. If not, it's just really cute and sweet. But there ain't no black outline on this card. I'm not using any blacks, except I will later on add black to the eyes and the noses of these bears. So as you are used of me by now, I am first adding my darkest color, then my mid-tone, and then my lightest. And in this case I go back and forth quite a bit to get the right dimension, the right shadows on there. Not that I'm really doing anything fancy with the shadows, but you know what I mean. I want to let the head stand out from the body, but at the same time have some shadows on there, so it was a bit of fiddling, but it worked out. If you have pencils, you can always add some more depth using your pencils, whatever you have on hand, polychromos, aquarels, everything can work for this purpose. But for today I just kept it to the Copic coloring. I was first thinking of doing these images no line, but then with the powerful background, if I'm doing no line coloring with my distress inks, they have quite a soft look in my opinion. So I was wondering whether the images would like fade into the background, which is not ideal and not the purpose when you're doing no line coloring. But this way it also seems a bit no line coloring, and with the Copics you have such a powerful color palette that you can use, so that's why I chose to go this route. So I'm on to my second bear. So this is me, and I don't know why, but if I can like sort of determine which one is the lady and which one is the man, or whatever case, I always do the lady or the female image a bit lighter than the male. I don't know why, but that's how I apparently decide each time again to color my critters. So yeah, so I'm really trying hard to give myself a gorgeous look, of course, because we need to shine. So I'm going back and forth again, trying to get some depth in there with my Copic markers. And then when I added the black, which is like really soon, I sort of messed it up. I started with the female bear, and apparently the Copics still were, like, the alcohol was still active, if you can call it like that. What I mean with that is when I started on the nose and stuff, it sort of bled. The black went all out, and I was so disappointed. I was like thinking about restarting, redoing everything, but then I decided to first continue with the male bear, and that one worked out fine. So I actually didn't want to start over on one bear. That's a bit stupid. So I decided to try one more thing to help myself, and that was to take a white jelly roll pen, and I just went over everything around the nose and the mouth, and this way I tried to cover up the black which was too thick. So it's hard to see because I'm really over it with my hand, but you will see now that the proportions are right at this moment. So those are my bears, and I'm going to use the matching dies to cut them out. So with these cut out, it was time to think about how I was going to add that "is you" so that my whole sentiment was completed. And I decided to use the sentiment strips by Mama Elephant to cut out a piece of Concord and 9 colored cardstock Cranberry, because it fitted perfectly with the rest, and then I fiddled quite a bit to find a sentiment that fitted, that was gorgeous enough to have the "is you." And in the end I ended up with using the Starry backdrop stamp set by Fawn, and I just masked off the pieces that I needed from both sentiments. And the embossing powder that I'm using today is the Glacier White by Nuvo. A gold one would have been lovely as well, I think, but the gold one that I have, as you know, it's a bit darker than the glitter cardstock, so I try to avoid using different golds for this card to just keep it simple and all matching with each other. So that's why I went for the white embossing. And now I'm going to prep this again, and I'm going to stamp out the is. I must admit I hang over it quite a bit to just check out whether placement was perfect. And then I'm using my purple tape to mask off everything else, because this is from the word wish. So it was important to really mask very well so that nothing else was going to be on my strip of this sentiment. I'm stamping it out twice to be sure, and then I'm going to use exactly the same embossing powder, heat set it again, and then my sentiment will be ready. Just cleaning off the excess before heat setting it, and then I can melt it really easily until it's smooth. I'm buffing off the excess with just a paper towel, and now I can check out placement, check whether the sentiment works with this one, and I think it does. It's sometimes really difficult to match different companies and brands together when it comes to sentiments, in my opinion, but it works. So I'm going to make everything seem to fit together by just adding all the rest of the stars that I have die cut onto the rest of this panel. And once I'm happy with that, I'm already going to adhere the stars as much as possible, because I like placement, and when you shift everything around, placement sometimes shifts along with it, and I don't want that. So I'm first adding that. Normally I do the embellishments at the end, but placing embellishments or details on the card is sometimes also the hardest part. So if you're happy with it, try to add it already before everything else. So the bears. At this stage I was thinking maybe they look a bit floating, so I decided to take this cloud die by My Favorite Things. These are called the stitched cloud edges, and I also cut out the bottom piece of this Slimline die again to have a cloudy border on the bottom. I first did it out of Neenah. My images are colored onto Neenah, but then when I wanted to add it to my panel, I saw that the edges, it was another white, because you know, as card makers there are different sort of whites. In my opinion, I can just not handle having two different whites. Yeah, so that's my issue. But some people also experience that. So you can see I have added that cloudy border on the paper of my thin foam squares, and this way I can use it in another card hopefully. And I did everything again, but out of the Transotype this time, and that worked perfectly with the edges that I had on my panel. So now I'm going to add these bears using a combination of liquid glue and thin foam squares, so that height is perfect with the clouds as well. And then there is only the sentiment to be added. I will do that with some thin foam squares as well. I really like the height of that. Then I will trim off the excess, add this panel to a card base, and it will be finished. So, as I said in the beginning, this is my final Christmas card for this year. I had so much fun. I created so many Christmas cards, and I hope you really enjoyed them all. So, being today the day that I celebrate Christmas, I really want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope that although the circumstances are so strange and there are regulations and different countries have limitations on seeing people, I hope that you can make a wonderful evening today, that you can celebrate it your way, of course safe, and that hopefully you all are healthy, that your family is healthy, and just just enjoy however you can celebrate today and tomorrow if you celebrate Christmas Day as well. I also want to thank you all. There will be some more cards before the end of the year normally, but I really want to thank you for sticking by and being so lovely to me, following my crafty journey, and just being amazing people, so loving. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope truly that you have a wonderful day today, and I will be back soon. Bye!